Hi everybody, Cynthia here. I decided to start a series called Tag Time Tuesday. I'm going to be doing it every Tuesday throughout the year, just to show you guys what kind of tags I've been working on and show you the process of it and what I'm using them for. And I thought that way maybe it would inspire you guys to make more tags and get ideas and on how to use them or how to make them. And if you have any questions, just let me know and I'll try and help you out. But anyway, this is an 8x8 masculine layout that I made, and this is the tag we're going to make today. A lot of times I use tags in my layouts as my title sentiment. I use them as journal spots, maybe just to decorate the page. So I thought we'd start out with something simple like this. This is a grungy vintage type layout. It's masculine, and there's going to be one like this for sale in my store, but I'm also making another one for a layout for my hubby's grandfather's photograph. It's old and vintage. It looks really, really cool on this layout. The papers I used to make this and my tag came from the Paper Studio pad called Poetic Postage. It's the paper pad 8.5 by 11. I purchased this at Hobby Lobby a little while ago, and I just love the vintage prints. It has a glossy finish and it's a lot darker, and I purchased it for this purpose, to use it for more masculine type layouts and cards. So just to explain a little bit about the layout, it has a really nice photo mat here. I did 3 banners behind it and kind of layered it up. I grunged it up. I inked it. This is an ink splotch stamp that I have. I did it here behind the photo mat and behind my sentiment picture. And then, like I said, I made a tag down here. I used some latte alcohol ink to ink up this camera piece. This was actually a charm, so what I did was I just cut off with my wire clippers the loop, and then I filed it really good so there were no sharp edges. And I didn't want the whole thing alcohol inked, I just wanted it like splotches, so I kind of like how that turned out. Did some splotching on the journal spot here, and I used a stamp that has these lines on it. And then this here's a bottle cap I flattened, and the image here, I got that from Graphic 45's Lady's Diary. And let's see, oh, that was the image right here. So I just used my 1-inch circle punch and then glossy accented it, alcohol inked that up a little as well. This was a stamp that I fussy cut out. Just kind of did a little thing here and put some clips around it and really grunged it up, and so that's how it turned out. But we're going to be making this tag right here. So what you're going to need is your background piece of cardstock, because we're going to layer this. Measures 2 1/8 inches across. Let me adjust my camera so y'all can see what I'm going to be doing here. Move some of this stuff out of our way. Sorry about that, guys. I want you to be able to see how I cut it to look like a tag. Okay, so it's going to measure 2 1/8 inches across, and then this way is 2 5/8 of an inch. Okay, and then your plain piece of cardstock measures 2 inches across and 2.5 inches long. So then how I cut my angles on my tags to always be the same on each side is I'm going to line this point up with the 1-inch mark down here. Oops, sorry, this point. This is the point I'm going to cut my angle on. So I'm just going to line up this point with the 1/4 inch line. This 1/4 inch black line you see here, I'm just going to make it touch that line. So the point up here to the 1/4 inch, point down here to the 1 inch, and trim. And that's going to give you your first angle. So if you want it to be the same and uniform on the other side, I'm going to take the point directly below that, like this way, line it up with my inch, and then I'm going to line this point up so where it just hits the 1/4 inch mark on this side. Okay? And that way you have a uniform cut on each side. I'm going to do the same thing with my background piece. So, point on the 1 inch, and this point lines up with the 1/4 inch. And flip it over and do the same thing. Get my cutter out of the way here. And then you guys can see how that's uniform, and it gives you a 1/8 inch border around your tag. So the next thing I'm going to do is distress it a little bit, grunge it up. I'm using a Tim Holtz distress tool. If you guys don't have a distress tool, don't worry about it. For the longest time before I bought one, I just used my scissors. So what you want to do, if you're using your scissors, is just take the edge of your paper and just run it along the edge. Okay? Don't do it really hard at first, because you don't want to cut into it until you get the feel of how much pressure you need to use. But it grunges it up the same exact way if you use your scissors. And that way you don't have to go out and buy a tool if you don't want to. Okay, so that one's grunged up. And we're going to do this one. I was actually going to do this last Thursday, but my computer made the decision for me. The fan on my computer was going. It was making this really loud noise, so I had to shut it off. And then when my hubby came home, we opened it up and cleaned it all out, and we got it running again, but who knows how long that's going to last. So then once you distress your sides, what I've done is I'm going to set this piece aside and work on this one. So I want my sentiment and everything to run this way because that's how it laid on my layout. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is my background, and I use this script stamp here for it. And I also used a little bit of the Ranger ink, the Tim Holtz Distress ink. I used Vintage Photo. And I'm just going to run it across the top here, so I don't need to ink up the whole thing. And then line it up. Okay, so now we have our background. Set that aside. And I'm going to use the same color, Vintage Photo, and I'm going to ink up my edges. And I'm just going to go real lightly over the tag to darken it, but not super dark. So it kind of looks like that. And I want to use a little bit darker around the edges again, so I'm going to use the walnut stain. And I'm just going to go over here and there with the walnut. So it looks like that. Okay. Set those aside. Now I'm going to do my regular stamping. I'm using the Instant Memories from Close to My Heart stamp set that Irene got me. She's Crafty Irina. Hi, Irene. And I'm going to use the Picture Perfect stamp. Oh, my phone's going. Sorry if you guys hear that. And I'm also going to use this film strip stamp right here. Okay. Just put it on my block. Line that up real good. And the ink I'm using is the Ranger Archival ink in black. Just going to ink that up. And I'm kind of going to angle this at the top here. Just slightly. Okay, like that. Just a slight angle. And we're going to kind of stamp off the paper for the film strip. So let me get a piece of scrap. If I can find my scrap paper. I don't know where it went. I just do this so I don't ink on my mat and have to wipe everything off. So let me line up my strip on my block. Okay, so I kind of want it to run on here, but I want to stamp off the tag. If you can see what I'm doing. Okay, looks like this. Now, I didn't ink it up a whole lot because I like how it looks all worn. If you don't have that worn look and it shows up really, really, really black and solid, just take one of your sanding tools and sand over it a little. That's what I did on the other one to get that worn look. I really love that. People keep emailing me or messaging me this morning. Sorry, guys. Okay. So now that we've done that, I want to add some ink splotches to it. I'm using the alcohol ink latte, and I don't want to dab over it because I'm not sure exactly, like I don't want big giant splotches. So sometimes I just put a little ink on my mat and I use a paintbrush. And then I'll just go in and touch it up onto the mat where I want the ink to go. And that way, I don't know, I have a little more control of my splotches, how many I want to put on, and I think that's good. I just kind of touch the paper with my brush and let it soak in. Okay. Just make sure you wash your brush off really well. Okay, it kind of looks like that. You guys can see it. Okay, now I kind of want to give it a little bit of a torn look. So right here where I have this ink splotch, I'm just going to kind of go in and tear it and push it in. Kind of smush it a little. You guys can see that? And I think I'll do another one down here in this corner. Just really small. Just kind of smash it in. Make it look a little grungy. And maybe a tiny one right here. Just real tiny. I'm going to go over that again with my ink just to make sure that's all inked up in there. Somebody really wants my attention, guys. And now for the clip. So I want the clip to kind of lay right where I tore it a little. So I'm just going to line it up on this side. And then I'm going to flip it over and add a little hot glue just so it stays in place underneath it. Okay, so it should look like that. I'm going to punch my holes. Oh, actually, I don't need to punch holes in this one. I'm sorry. I'm going to set this aside and ink this one up the same way. I'm going to use a little bit of Vintage Photo and ink it up. I'm sorry if I'm shaking my camera. And then I'm going to go in on the edges really well with the walnut stain. Okay, I have some Fabri-Tac here I'm going to use for my ribbon. So I'm going to get that out. And my ribbon piece measures about 4 inches long and it's a 1/4 inch wide. It's like a light silky green. And it's a little too new looking to me, so I just usually take my scissors and run it along my scissors, and I rough it up a little. This kind of gives you like a worn, grungy look to it. So it just doesn't look so new. Okay, so you can see the difference now. It's kind of worn looking. And then I'll just trim off those fibers that I pulled out. Oh my gosh. People keep texting me. Hold on one second, guys. I'm just gonna... I did put it on vibrate before, but I guess it didn't work. So I'm going to use some of my foam tape, and I'm going to cut a piece off, and I'm actually going to line it up and put it right over that. Cut it a little too big there, guys, sorry. I'm going to put it right over that clip, and that's going to help the clip to stay on better. I'm just going to put foam tape on the back and then line it up with the front here. Use my bone folder to really push it down, and sometimes when you do this it helps release the tape to peel off better for you guys. Okay, so let's line up our tag. Okay, we're just going to put the finishing touches on with the ribbon. And all I did was really fold the ribbon up like this and pop it onto the tag. But I'm going to use a little bit of Fabri-Tac to do that. Okay, kind of make yourself a V. Pinch it together. And then once that dries, put a little bit on the back. And I'm just going to add it to the top here. Like that. And then I like the look of metal. So I went in with my stapler and I stapled it. Just right across. Okay, so give it another look of metal there. And I'm just going to trim this bottom piece off. Like so. Give this a little one. Trim and then just fray the edges, because I don't want it to look perfect. And cut off the extra long pieces there. Alright, but that's it. That's my tag, and that's how I use it sometimes in my layouts. If you guys have any questions, let me know, and I will be back next week with another tag. Thanks for watching. Take care.